Watch this.
Idaho's Attorney General has made himself pretty busy, which means the courts have been busy as well, and a couple have dropped their opinions on what Labrador's office has been up to. Some are calling it the biggest game in Boise State football history. There's a lot on the line in tomorrow's Mountain West Championship. But the Broncos have been in big games before.
Can you believe it?
And we're going to run you through them.
I say Chinden.
Shendon, I guess.
Hard to believe this is still a question, but I guess there are a lot of newcomers to the Treasure Valley. So we're going to show you how to say it and why. You know, we've gotten this question a lot. How much money is Attorney General Raul Labrador spending to defend the state of Idaho in all the cases that are out there right now? It's kind of a hard thing to track because a lot of them still ongoing, but we do know his name was attached to 2 court opinions that dropped this week. 2 more. The first one from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals regarding out-of-state abortion referrals, which is a case that was first brought up by Planned Parenthood. Yesterday, the Ninth Circuit upheld a federal district court decision made in August of 2023 saying Idaho doctors, they can refer patients out of state for abortions. It blocks Attorney General Raul Labrador's 2023 interpretation of the criminal law, which he says prohibits providers, doctors, from referring patients across state lines to an abortion provider. Ninth Circuit Court also said Labrador's opinion of Idaho's abortion ban violates doctors' First Amendment rights. I mean, they got to be able to say what they say to their patients. Now medical providers, that'd be doctors, don't have to worry about being prosecuted by attorney generals when they are telling their patients they can go receive such care out of state. The other opinion came from Idaho's Supreme Court. This time it was about University of Idaho's $685 million bid to buy the University of Phoenix. This morning, Idaho's Supreme Court overturned a January ruling from Ada County District Court, which said the State Board of Education was allowed to have closed-door meetings about that purchase. Starting in March of 2023, the State Board had 3 closed executive sessions to talk about buying the University of Phoenix. Labrador said those meetings, they were illegal under Idaho's open meetings law because the discussions weren't preliminary after the last meeting happened, 3 days before the State Board approved the purchase. Today's 4-1 ruling confirmed those meetings were illegal, which is a win for Labrador after that loss yesterday from Planned Parenthood. This ruling might affect U of I's bid to buy the school, though. Legislature tried to block that bid last session, but the universities, the State Board, and the governor, they're all in favor of that, of U of I buying UOP. They have until June to decide what they want to do, and the University of Phoenix can now decide to talk to other buyers, too. Well, the 2025 legislative session is going to get underway in about a month with members getting sworn in this morning. But last night, they decided who would lead their respective caucuses. The names you'll likely hear a lot of this session. Starting with the GOP on the House side, no surprise, Stars Mike Moyle returns as Speaker, Meridian's Jason Monks as House Majority Leader. Backing him will be Eagles' Josh Tanner, and the House Majority Caucus Chair will be Nampa's Jaron Crane. As for the Senate side for the Republicans, Burley's Kelly Anthony, he's going to take over for Senator Chuck Winder, who lost in May's primary. He'll sit in the Senate President seat. Meridian's Lori Den Hartog is going to fill the Majority Leader seat occupied by Fruitland's Abby Lee, who retired after last session. With Senators Mark Harris from Soda Springs and Ben Tays from Coeur d'Alene filling out the rest of the roster that you see on your screen. As for the Democrats, there's the lineup on the House side. Minority Leader Alana Rebell from Boise. Steve Birch and Todd Achilles are going to fill out the minority positions on that side. On the other side, the Senate, the Democratic leaders will be Senators Melissa Wintrow and Janie Ward Engelking from Boise and James Ruchte from Pocatello. Just some numbers to kind of throw out to you, though, when you look at those names. 105 members of the Idaho legislature. 27 of them are women. It's just worth pointing out, Republicans chose 1 woman for leadership positions out of the 8 that are available. The Democrats, they chose 3 out of their 6. All right, it's one thing to recklessly drive into a pond. It's another, though, to try to hide from police in that water with apparently a knife, all of which happened yesterday at a Boise Park pond. Hunter Funk tells us more in today's 411.
A man drove into a pond at Esther Simplot Park yesterday, just before 9:30 in the morning. Boise police say there were reports of someone driving through fences, down canal banks, over the green belt, and finally crashing the SUV into the water. Witnesses told police the man had a knife and tried to hide in the pond. The man eventually got out of the water after talking to officers. First responders took the man to a local hospital, and the Boise Fire Dive Team helped get the car out of the pond. Police say no charges have been filed yet. The staircase connecting the Boise Bench to Ann Morrison Park is nearly complete. This 94-step staircase leads from Peasley Street on Crescent Rim down to the southwest side of the park. Boise Parks and Recreation will update us when the stairs are ready to use. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, consider checking out the 76th annual Boise Holiday Parade. It's happening this Saturday at 10 a.m. in downtown Boise. It's free, and this year's theme is Winter Wonderland. If you can't make it, you can watch the parade live on Channel 7. We'll also be streaming the parade live on KTVB.com and KTVB Plus app. That's the 411 on the 208. I'm Hunter Funk.
Well, tomorrow, football fans are going to be watching what's happening on the blue when Boise State, ranked number 10, is going to host University of Nevada, Las Vegas, ranked number 22. It's going to happen at Albertson Stadium. The two teams facing off for the Mountain West Conference Championship. And yes, it has been a pretty good season for Boise State so far, climbing the college football ranks, getting to number 10 for the first time in almost a dozen years. They might even have a chance at a national championship, something they've never had before. Today, we're taking a look back at Bronco football history because, yes, they've had big games, but not like this. Aspen Shumpert has more.
The Boise State Broncos are gunning for their 6th Mountain West Conference Championship title on Friday.
What's it like to have kind of this electric feel, eyes on Boise State right now?
In previous seasons, there has been like a bad loss in September. There wasn't one this year. The only loss, of course, was to Oregon, and that was 3 points. And so they've been riding that wave all season. And then, of course, this year they have a generational talent in Ashton Jeanty.
Let's go back to 2006. We had Chris Peterson as our coach. We went undefeated, went to the Fiesta Bowl. Take me back to what that time was like.
It just became a steamroller, and they kept climbing in the rankings.
Down the middle, James, the lateral!
It was just a magical time. And then the Fiesta Bowl speaks for itself.
Believe that!
Was this something you guys weren't expecting? What was that like?
They had been really good from 2000 to 2005. But in 2006, the world paid attention to Boise State. And then Kellen Moore came on the scene in 2008, and things changed again.
Scott says quarterback Kellen Moore had a 50-3 winning record as a starter during his 4 years at Boise State. And he was in the running multiple times for the Heisman Trophy Award, which is given to the most outstanding college football player each year. In 2009, Boise State goes undefeated again, clinching another Fiesta Bowl win in January of 2010.
It was just a continuation, and it was just kind of like, we're back. And it was against TCU.
Surrounded by a sea of orange and blue, Bronco Mania has broken out.
Momentum grew with ESPN's traveling game day show, College Game Day, coming to the Blue fall of 2010.
And that was the biggest single sports day in Boise history, from dawn till sunset. At dawn, the sun comes up, and there's already 13,000 people there for College Game Day, and it was a very hot day. And then that night, Oregon State comes into town, and they're ranked, but Boise State is ranked a lot higher. Boise State wins the game. I mean, it was magical.
A giant bus loose, and he's going to take it.
Then in the Mountain West Conference, the Broncos went back to the Fiesta Bowl in 2014 and won. But the momentum died down after that.
They didn't win quite as much the past 10 years, but in my mind, the program never went away. The program has 27 consecutive winning seasons, the longest streak in the country. And what school wouldn't kill to have that streak?
This year, Boise State is ranked in the top 10 in the country. This is the first time the team's been ranked this high since 2011, Kellen Moore's senior year.
I think the national perception of Boise State is still kind of like the little engine that could. They're doing more with less. They have by far the smallest budget of any of these top 10 teams in the college football playoff rankings. And they're still overachieving massively. I think the community is very proud of this team, and to see it reach heights again that it hasn't reached in 10 years. And I think there will be a lot of disappointment if there's a loss tomorrow night. But boy, if there's a win, look out. Wherever they're going, there's going to be some traveling Bronco fans.
This year is also different because there is a clear path for Boise State to have a chance to play in the national championship. This year it's a 12-team playoff instead of 4. Tom says that created the avenue for a Group 5 team like Boise State to get into the college football playoff.
Boise State also made the cover of Sports Illustrated back when that was a thing. That was several years ago when they were making that run. Okay, so just like back then, Heisman candidate. There's one marquee player on this team. What's Tom's take on the Heisman?
He thinks Ashton Dentry should absolutely win it. We talked about, he hasn't had a bad game. He's done everything we've asked him to do. So in Tom's opinion, it's going to Ashton Dentry, but we'll have to see what the people in power think.
Again, a lot riding on tomorrow night's game, so
Yep.
We'll tune into that because, you want to tune into that. And our pregame show, the Bronco Roundup Game Day, is happening tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on Channel 7. After that show is done, you can switch over to our streaming show, which begins at 5. Leads you right up to kickoff at 6. Catch both of those shows on YouTube, KTVB.com, KTVB Plus, and our mobile app. There's an historical thread that connects Chinden to Garden City and a connection to the people who once called it home. Today, we're going to tug on that thread and maybe your heartstrings. We know it's Chinden. What we don't know is what you think about today's show or any other quirky tidbits about the 208. We're always looking for story ideas. Text us. The number's on your screen, 208-321-5614. And always include your name and the hashtag the 208. That way, we know it's for us. Garden City, known as the city nestled by the river, lost one of its biggest champions last month. Donna Kahn passed away on Sunday, November 17th. Donna moved to Garden City in 1957, 10 years before, Garden City actually became an official incorporated city. Since then, she became an advocate, an ambassador, and historian of the city. She started city newspapers, was involved with the city council, even helped start the city's first library. If you needed to know anything about Garden City, Donna was the one to ask, which is just what John Miller did back in 2001. Just 4.2 square miles of riverside property completely surrounded by the city of Boise. Garden City, yes, small in stature, is big enough, though, to leave a large imprint on the Treasure Valley, partly because of its name, but mostly because of the road that runs through it. You've likely driven on it, maybe even gotten a speeding ticket or two from one of the Garden City's finest along the 35-mile-an-hour speed trap. But do you know how to say it? Is it Chinden or Shinden? The answer is in today's 208 Redial. When it comes to this road, you've got people on both sides.
I say Chinden.
Chinden. Chinden.
Shenden, I guess.
So that would mean I'm enjoying a piece of fried chicken? He says.
On Shinden Boulevard.
D knows.
It's Chinden.
CH, like in church.
Or is it church?
You visit a chapel? Garden City Mayor Ted Ellis knows where he stands.
Well, it's not pronounced properly if it's Shinden.
In fact, the mayor says you couldn't be more incorrect if you were standing in front of a Chevrolet holding a pork chop in a chevron on Shinden.
It's Chinden.
Just ask Donna Kahn. What, did you write the book on this?
Yes, I did.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
The Garden City history.
It's Chinden. It's a contraction of Chinese gardens.
Chinese Gardens, which used to cover the Chinden Boulevard area more than 50 years ago.
It was just 2 lanes then. And they decided that 2026 wasn't sufficient, so let's name it.
According to Donna's book, that's when resident Nita Danzer won $25 in a mail-in contest to rename Highway 2026. Danzer's entry combined the words Chinese Garden, Chinden, and Chinden Boulevard became the main street in Garden City.
It's Chinden.
So if you're still determined to drive down Shinden, be sure to take advantage of the free checking. The mayor hates Shinden.
I agree with the mayor very much.
Chinden Boulevard.
Get it right. John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Okay, so now you know, thanks to John Miller and to Donna Kahn, or maybe you already did know. But there's an even deeper history to Chinden that John Miller just kind of touched on. The Chinese gardens that used to cover the east end of Garden City. Right about the time Fort Boise was established, for the second time, in 1863 up against the Boise foothills, they needed a place to grow feed for the soldiers' horses. And they did that. They planted some hay on a plat of land southwest of the fort, right next to the river, what would eventually be called Government Island. It was also about that time gold was discovered in the Boise Basin, and in flooded prospectors from all over the place came to make it rich by either mining or outfitting the miners. By 1870, almost 30% of Idaho's population was Chinese. But the search for gold didn't last long. And in 1890, Thomas Davis, yes, from the same Julia Davis family, he bought 600 acres of Government Island and began leasing it to Chinese immigrants who were looking to do something else, like farm. One of those families who leased some of that Davis land was the Louis family. Andy Louis, who will be 93 years old next week, tells us more about how the Chinese put the garden in Garden City.
That's my grandfather. That's my family.
Andy Louis' link to Idaho.
Yeah, that's my dad.
Goes back 3 generations. That's you. Before him.
My great-grandfather came here to try to get rich, fun and gold.
But when that didn't happen, Andy's great-grandfather came down from the hills.
My great-grandfather moved down from Idaho City to the Boise area in the late 1800s.
Farming then became the family business on land that would eventually become Boise's North End.
Then my grandfather came over probably the early 1900s and took over the farming from my great-grandfather. Eventually, they moved down to Garden City.
Of course, it wasn't called that in those days.
So the garden, the name after my grandfather.
It was just known as the Chinese Gardens, a flat place near water where they could grow all kinds of produce,
the harvest of lettuce,
and sell it to the local grocery stores.
Looking back, actually, it was a good life. We worked hard, but didn't seem to have too much stress in life, you know. We took it as is.
Then by the spring of 1949,
we grew a lot of green onions.
Just before Andy arrived from China, Boise outlawed gambling. So, at the behest of local businessmen, the farmers were pushed out, and a village just across the river was incorporated to keep the gambling close by. They called it Garden City, a link to the area's past, a legacy Louis' family is still honored to be part of.
I think Garden City recognized that too.
In fact, the city named 2 days 12 years apart,
2010 is another proclamation,
as the Louis Family Recognition Day. So the Louis family is Garden City.
Oh yeah, we're pretty proud of that.
Andy, who says he moved here when he was a teenager, told us his family would farm another section of Garden City later on near Strawberry Glen from 1951 into the early 60s. Andy would join the military and then go on to school on a GI Bill to study pharmacology. Several of his nieces and nephews also went to school. They grew up working the Louis G family farm. They would become doctors and even a vice president for Albertsons. but all still very proud of their Garden City roots. As for Donna Kahn, who lived in Garden City for 76 years and was known for her love of her adopted city, her sense of humor, and for playing a mean harmonica, there will be a celebration of life for Donna this Saturday at the Whitney Friends Church in Boise, beginning at 4.
If only white straight men are telling the stories, or only white people are telling the stories, that's a huge problem for everybody, right?
When you go to the theater, you typically expect to see maybe some dancing, obviously acting, cool costumes, big backdrops, whole production. But in Haley, at the Liberty Theater Company, they're going to take all of that away. They're going to focus on the soundscape. They're going down the rabbit hole to do it. And of course they are, because it's Alice in Wonderland. It's a live radio play. It's something you don't see, or should we say don't hear, very often. They're also staging a first for the theater, a full production in Spanish. The artistic director says it's giving them a chance to fall into a new world by bringing more representation into the community. And the actors feel like it's unlocking new doors for their careers.
I've known for a long time that we had to start doing Spanish language programming because we're not doing our job if we're not serving that community as well.
I hope that we can continue to tell those stories to an audience that right now is not represented.
Okay, so you saw those pictures of the guy sitting at the chair, right? So here's how it works. You go to the theater, but it's done like it's done over the radio, like old-timey stuff, like watching a live podcast almost, but with audio effects. You can hear the Spanish play on December 8th. That's coming up on December 8th at 2 p.m. for free. On December 6th and 7th, you'll hear the English play. General admission, though, to go watch it live, $30. All right, we got some comments to get through at the end of today's show. We're going to start with this one from Rod in Boise. Rod, who says, I am surprised Republicans chose any woman for leadership since they believe a woman can't be trusted to make medical decisions for herself. How can she make decisions about governing, he says, which is a point many people have made. When it comes to leaders in the legislature, maybe there's more qualified women in the Democratic Party than those that take seats in the Republican women, says Scott. Scott also says Brian gender does not matter when it's being considered for a position to include legislative leadership. It should be merit-based. I know, but I find it interesting that out of the 105 members of the Idaho legislature, 27 are women, 8 women in the Senate for Republicans, 10 in the House. That's 18 women, 1 in a leadership position for both chambers. Isn't the University of Phoenix an online activity? Like no actual classrooms? If so, what are we buying? We're buying that online classes, and the money that it brings in is what the University of Idaho would like to take part of or be part of. When I first moved to Boise in 1989, I said Shinden and was quickly reprimanded and in no uncertain terms corrected to Chinden. Don't forget Chinden.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.